In Japan, the principle of Kanso says that beauty is not in what you own, but in what you remove. At first, it sounds serene, almost poetic. But here's the brutal edge. If you look around your home right now, most of what surrounds you doesn't actually belong in your life anymore. That extra chair holding laundry, the boxes stacked in the hallway, the untouched china cabinet. Kanso would call them noise, not beauty. And the painful truth is, this noise robs you of space, safety, and even peace of mind. Imagine how many times you've stepped around something that has no role in your life today. That simple act, repeated every day, silently steals your freedom. Kanso demands honesty. Are these things serving your present self, or are they holding you hostage to the past? Before we go on, if this already strikes a chord, don't just tap that new hype button. It's YouTube's way of lifting seniors' voices above the clutter, and you can hype 3 videos a week. Every hype helps this message reach someone else who desperately needs to hear it. Ask yourself now, if Kanso walked into your living room, how much would stay, and how much would go? The answer might surprise you, and it might even scare you. But it is in that fear that your freedom begins. Isamu was 72 when he finally admitted that his home was no longer a home, it was a showroom. 4 decades, he had been a proud collector of antiques, vintage clocks, heavy wooden cabinets, and what he liked to call conversation pieces. Friends would walk in and marvel, but their admiration came at a cost. Every corner of his living space was crowded with relics, and every step through his hallway was a careful negotiation around objects that demanded attention. What Isamu didn't realize was that his possessions had become louder than his presence. They spoke first. They defined the room before he did. And in time, his children stopped visiting as often, quietly confessing later that his house felt more like a museum than a place to gather. The shift began when Isamu and his wife downsized to a smaller home. What once seemed like treasures suddenly turned into obstacles. He discovered entire boxes of things he hadn't touched in 20 years, old souvenirs from trips he barely remembered, gifts he had accepted out of politeness, artifacts that carried stories no one asked him to tell. Each object demanded dusting, moving, storing, and care, while giving nothing back in return. Instead of bringing him dignity in retirement, they drained him of energy. His wake-up call came unexpectedly during a visit to his cousin's house in Kyoto. The living room was nearly bare. A low table, a single vase with a branch of plum blossoms, light falling softly across tatami mats. No clutter, no noise, yet it felt more alive, more welcoming, more personal than his own crowded home. His cousin explained the principle of Kanso, simplicity that strips away the unnecessary so the essence of life can breathe. In that moment, Isamu realized something deeply uncomfortable. He had been honoring objects instead of honoring himself. For seniors, this is the challenge Kanso lays before us. Do the things we keep allow our lives to shine more brightly, or do they overshadow us, leaving our stories buried beneath layers of possessions? Isamu chose to listen to the silence of his cousin's room, and in that silence, he heard a truth he could no longer ignore. Rule 1. Kanso removes noise so essence can speak. In Japanese aesthetics, clutter is not dismissed as mere untidiness, it is regarded as visual noise. Just as static disrupts a clear melody, too many objects disrupt the quiet rhythm of a room. A space filled with competing colors, stacked ornaments, and endless knickknacks does more than overwhelm the shelves, it unsettles the mind. The eyes dart from one object to another, never finding rest, while the spirit struggles to breathe. Kanso warns against this dissonance. It teaches that every object in your home should either contribute to harmony or remain unobtrusive. When possessions dominate the room rather than support it, they drown out the essence of the life the room is meant to reflect. Objects that no longer serve well-being are not neutral placeholders. They pull attention, require care, and quietly erode the balance of a home. A wall of decorative plates that never touch a table, figurines that gather dust but add no warmth, holiday decor left long past its season, these are not tokens of memory or culture, they are intrusions. Instead of enriching the story of your life, they blur it into background noise. In many American households, this tendency toward busy decor has been inherited from earlier generations. For decades, abundance was equated with prosperity. More pillows layered across the bed, more china stored in cabinets, more wall hangings to fill every inch, more fabrics and colors layered one over another. This culture of more was meant to show achievement, but in practice, it often crowded out peace. Kanso offers a counterpoint. It proposes that beauty does not come from addition but from subtraction. When what is unnecessary is removed, the essential can breathe, and it is the essential that holds real power. Seniors who embrace this vision often describe an almost physical relief. Suddenly, one photograph placed thoughtfully on a wall speaks louder and more lovingly than 20 scattered snapshots. A single chair, positioned with care, creates a stronger invitation to sit and converse than a room cluttered with seats no one chooses. The presence of less becomes the presence of more clarity, more calm, more connection. A home should never compete with its owner. Its purpose is not to shout louder than the person who lives in it but to support their life and reflect their essence. Think of your home as a stage and yourself as the central character. If the set is too crowded, the performance is lost. If the setting is simple and intentional, your presence commands attention. Kanso is not about creating emptiness. It is about clearing away distractions so the essence of your life, your story, your truth, can finally be seen clearly, unobstructed and unmistakable. By removing the noise, you do not diminish the home. You give it space to breathe, and in doing so, you give yourself room to live. Rule 2. Kanso destroys pretending. Kanso teaches that authenticity is more beautiful than display. In Japanese aesthetics, the objects and spaces that endure are the ones that speak with honesty. A simple wooden bowl that reveals its natural grain is admired more than one covered in heavy gloss to mimic perfection. The principle is straightforward. What is genuine holds power, while what pretends quickly loses meaning. Authenticity, in its quiet form, outshines even the most elaborate display because it carries truth. This lesson applies with particular force to the way we live and to the things we choose to keep around us. Many homes, especially in later years, hold subtle forms of pretense. Closets remain crowded with clothes from careers long ended, or with outfits for social occasions that no longer occur. Shoes that once symbolized vitality now pinch, yet linger because they once spoke of youth. Dining rooms remain arranged for formality, yet the gatherings they were meant for have faded. Cabinets groan with ornate china that has never been used, and living rooms hold furniture chosen not for comfort but for image. These objects are not companions in daily life. They are performances, rehearsals for roles no longer played. The cost of these performances is often invisible but deeply felt. Every time you dust a fragile chair that no one uses, or glance at an outfit that no longer fits, you shoulder the weight of maintaining an illusion. Instead of supporting the present, these objects pull you back toward roles and identities already completed. Over time, the illusion becomes louder than your presence. It shapes the story of your home more than your own voice does, creating a quiet but heavy divide between the self you are today and the possessions that insist you remain who you once were. Kanso rejects this divide. It demands alignment between your environment and your present truth. It teaches that surroundings should not preserve masks of youth, wealth, or status, but instead reflect the dignity of who you are now. By removing these masks, you do not lose yourself, you reveal yourself. A room stripped of pretense does not feel empty, it feels alive, filled with honesty instead of performance. The reflection Kanso offers is not sentimental but clear. Do your possessions affirm the life you live now, or do they stage a life already past? If they stage, their purpose is complete. Letting them go is not an erasure of history, it is an act of freedom. It allows you to step forward without disguise, to be present without distortion. In that clarity, there is dignity. In that honesty, there is beauty. And in that simplicity, there is lasting peace. Rule 3. Kanso exposes the energy drainers. Energy is not only found in people, it is woven into the objects that surround us. In Japanese thought, every possession carries ki, a subtle force that shapes the atmosphere of a room and influences the people within it. A single flower in a vase can brighten a space, infusing it with freshness and calm. A stack of dusty boxes, on the other hand, can cast a weight of heaviness over the entire home. Kanso is rooted in this awareness. It teaches that what we keep is never neutral. Each item in your home either supports your well-being or quietly drains it. What seems like harmless clutter is, in reality, a steady leak of vitality. Think about the unfinished craft projects lined on a shelf, the pile of paperwork tucked away because facing it feels overwhelming, or the exercise equipment standing in the corner, unused for years. These objects are not passive. They speak every time you see them. They whisper of procrastination, fatigue, or guilt. They remind you of tasks abandoned, of intentions never fulfilled, of energy that was once present but now feels out of reach. And over time, those reminders are heavier than the objects themselves. Instead of being silent bystanders, they become drains, chipping away at your peace of mind little by little. For seniors, this truth is especially urgent. Energy is no longer something to scatter or waste. Every ounce of focus, every moment of calm, and every breath of ease is precious. When a home is cluttered with things that weigh on the spirit, even simple routines become burdensome. That sigh when you step into a crowded room, the tension in your shoulders as you open an overstuffed closet, the subtle hesitation before walking into a room you'd rather avoid, these are not random reactions. They are signals. They reveal that the energy in your environment has turned toxic. And when the home, the very place that should offer safety and restoration, becomes a source of exhaustion, it is time to act. Letting go of energy-draining items is not a sacrifice, it is an act of liberation. Recycling a pile of unread magazines lifts more than paper, it lifts the pressure of promises unkept. Discarding a broken lamp removes not only clutter but also the guilt of an unfinished repair. Donating a sewing machine unused for decades turns a symbol of neglect into a gift of usefulness for someone else. Each release is a restoration. What remains behind is not emptiness but clarity, space that breathes, a home that supports, and a spirit that feels lighter. Kanso invites you to pause and reflect. Do the things around you replenish your strength, or do they quietly drain it away? If they drain, then their role is finished. Releasing them is not about discarding the past, it is about protecting your present and honoring your future. It is about reclaiming peace, guarding energy, and creating a life that feels lighter by intention rather than by chance. This is the design Kanso offers, and in that design, simplicity becomes not just beautiful but life-giving. Rule 4. Kanso honors the plain and useful. Simplicity, in the philosophy of Kanso, is not absence but refinement. It is the discipline of allowing only what is essential and purposeful to remain, and in that restraint, true beauty emerges. Japanese aesthetics has long honored the unassuming and the functional. A plain wooden stool that serves faithfully each day is valued more than an ornate chair admired from afar but never used. The stool is honest, fulfilling its purpose without pretension. The chair, however costly, becomes little more than ornament, occupying space yet offering nothing to daily life. Kanso makes the distinction clear: beauty is found not in spectacle, but in service. This principle stands in sharp contrast to traditions familiar in many American households, where possessions often carry the weight of symbolism rather than utility. Cabinets are filled with china reserved for occasions that rarely come. Dining tables stand polished and perfect, untouched by gatherings they were meant to host. Lamps remain dim or unused, admired more for their appearance than for the light they might cast. These objects, though often cherished, demand maintenance while contributing little to the rhythm of daily living. In the language of Kanso, they are noise disguised as elegance. For older adults, this lesson carries a particular urgency. Generations were raised to save the good things, to preserve rather than to use. Decorative pillows were placed but never touched. Formal rooms were staged more like exhibits than places of belonging. Furniture and collectibles became symbols of success or respectability. Yet the true cost of these habits is subtle. Spaces filled with items that no longer serve today's needs quietly consume energy, time, and peace of mind. Instead of enriching life as it is now, they tether you to roles and expectations that have long since passed. Kanso offers a more liberating definition of beauty. The mug that greets you every morning carries more meaning than porcelain locked away behind glass. The chair that holds your rest is infinitely more valuable than the one nobody dares to touch. The blanket you pull around your shoulders on a cool evening has more dignity than fine linens hidden in storage. Usefulness is not a reduction of beauty, it is beauty made clear. A home in which every object earns its place through daily service becomes not only harmonious but deeply human. The reflection is straightforward. If what you own does not serve your life today, what role does it play? To hold on to objects that no longer serve is to carry illusions of value. To release them is to create a home that feels lighter, more honest, and more aligned with who you are now. What remains is not emptiness but clarity. The plain becomes elegant. The useful becomes extraordinary. And in that shift, your home becomes a true mirror of your life, not a museum of possessions. Rule 5. Kanso rejects excess words. With age often comes the wisdom that life is most powerful when expressed with clarity. This is the very essence of Kanso. In Japanese aesthetics, simplicity is not limited to the shape of a chair or the design of a garden. It extends into language, memory, and the stories we choose to carry forward. Just as a room overfilled with objects overwhelms the eyes, a life overburdened with explanations overwhelms the heart. When an object demands a long defense, where it came from, who gave it, why it still matters, it has ceased to be a vessel of meaning. It has become weight disguised as memory. Objects that cannot speak for themselves, that require paragraphs of justification, are not companions, they are burdens. Many seniors hold on to them out of loyalty to the stories they once told. A broken clock tied to a distant relative, stacks of magazines saved for the useful articles, boxes of souvenirs from trips that no one recalls clearly anymore. But if the meaning of these items must constantly be argued into existence, it is a signal that their essence has faded. Kanso reminds us that true meaning should be immediate and self-evident, not propped up by endless explanation. Your life is not meant to be curated like a museum exhibit. It does not need plaques, labels, and speeches attached to every object. Instead, it should be expressed in a few strong, clear chapters. One photograph of a family gathered in joy can speak with more power than dozens of scattered snapshots no one ever looks at. A single quilt, worn and softened by years of use, carries a depth of story far richer than a closet full of linens left untouched. In Kanso, the story of your life should be felt at a glance, present, undeniable, and clear, rather than pieced together through endless clutter. For American seniors, this teaching carries particular urgency. Many homes have become storage vaults of explainable things, attics filled with heirlooms no one remembers, basements stacked with tools untouched for decades, living rooms decorated with relics of earlier times. The burden of explanation often falls on you, yet the next generation rarely asks for these speeches. They are not looking for inventories of objects, they are looking for you. The essence of your story is not in boxes of things but in the person who lived it. The reflection Kanso offers is both simple and profound. If an object's value cannot be expressed clearly and briefly, its place in your home is already lost. To release it is not to erase your history but to clarify it. Clarity is not emptiness, it is focus. It is the freedom to live without defending what no longer serves. Kanso teaches us that beauty rests in what is direct, unclouded, and true. When you let go of objects that demand too many words, you give yourself permission to live a story that is understood instantly, without clutter or confusion. In the end, your life will not be remembered by the number of things you explained, but by the peace, dignity, and presence you carried into every moment. Rule 6. Kanso fears nothing empty. In Japan, it has long been understood that too many words blur the meaning of a story just as too many objects blur the harmony of a room. This is the spirit of Kanso. Clarity, whether in space, memory, or speech, is the deepest form of respect. When something is genuine, it does not require embellishment. When an object truly holds value, it should not depend on you to defend it with elaborate explanations. Its worth should be self-evident, carried in silence, not propped up by speeches. And yet, in many homes, especially outside Japan, possessions survive only because of the stories attached to them. A broken clock is kept because of who once owned it. Stacks of old magazines remain because there might be useful articles. Boxes of souvenirs sleep in basements, needing hours of explanation to be understood. These items are not living companions in daily life. They are obligations disguised as treasures. If their meaning disappears the moment the story stops, then their essence has already faded. They have shifted from memory to burden. Kanso demands honesty in how we live with what surrounds us. A home is not a museum, and you are not a guide required to walk visitors through endless shelves of artifacts. Life is meant to be seen at once, felt directly, not explained in footnotes. A single photograph of a family gathering, placed with intention, has more power than dozens of faded images spread across drawers. A quilt, softened by use and memory, carries more dignity than stacks of pristine linens that never leave storage. What remains in your home should reveal your story without speeches or justification. For American seniors, this principle carries particular urgency. Generations grew up with the habit of saving explainable things, heirlooms in attics that no one else remembers, tools in basements that no one touches, ornate furniture in living rooms arranged more for show than for use. These objects, once symbols of pride, now place quiet obligations on their owners. They require dusting, caretaking, and above all, explaining. Yet when the next generation visits, they rarely ask for those stories. They are not looking for inventories of objects. They are looking for you, your presence, your voice, your essence. Kanso's test is simple but uncompromising. Does this object speak clearly, or does it force you to keep speaking for it? If its value cannot be seen without your defense, then its time has ended. To let it go is not betrayal. It is refinement. It is the act of allowing your story to be visible without distortion. What remains is not emptiness, but essence. In that essence there is dignity, in that clarity there is freedom, and in that freedom there is peace. Rule 7. Kanso crowns transience over storage. Kanso, like many principles of Japanese aesthetics, is inseparable from the idea of impermanence. Rooted in wabi-sabi, the quiet acceptance of life's transience, Kanso reminds us that beauty lies not in what lasts forever, but in what flows naturally through time. Seasons change, blossoms fall, rivers shift, and lives unfold. To resist this truth by holding on to everything just in case or forever, is to fight against nature itself. And when we resist nature, we create not harmony but suffering. The brutal truth is this: if you're keeping things as if they must last forever, you are fighting against life's most certain rhythm. Objects are not eternal companions. They serve us for a time, then their role ends. When we continue to cling, whether to decades of clothes that no longer fit, tools for hobbies we no longer practice, or holiday decor for traditions long abandoned, we are not preserving life. We are preserving illusion. Kanso does not tolerate illusion. It crowns transience over storage, insisting that letting go honors the natural flow of time. For seniors, this truth often arrives with sharp clarity. Many homes become monuments to earlier decades, closets stuffed with work attire from careers already concluded, garages filled with equipment for projects never resumed, rooms overflowing with collections once treasured but now untouched. These items whisper of permanence, but permanence is not reality. The reality is that bodies change, seasons of life close, and families evolve. To cling to the objects of past identities is to deny yourself the freedom to live fully in the present chapter. Kanso offers a kinder, more honest path. Allow objects to serve their purpose and then move on. A winter coat that kept you warm for 20 years has fulfilled its duty. It doesn't need to occupy your closet for another 20. A set of tools that built furniture for your children has already written its story. Forcing it into decades of storage does not extend its meaning. The beauty lies in recognizing completion, not in chaining yourself to what was. Here is your challenge: walk through your home and notice what you are keeping forever. Ask yourself, is this object aligned with my life today, or am I holding it hostage to memory and fear of change? Kanso insists that to release is not to lose, it is to flow with the truth that everything, including us, is transient. By letting go, you honor both the object's service and your own journey forward. The reward is peace, a home that moves with you, not against you, and a life that reflects the graceful rhythm of seasons instead of the heavy burden of storage. When Isamu finally embraced Kanso, his home underwent a transformation so profound that even he struggled to believe it. For years, he had equated emptiness with loss. He feared that letting go meant erasing his memories, erasing proof of the life he had lived. But as the clutter left, something unexpected happened. The house didn't feel empty at all. It felt alive. The rooms no longer whispered with the voices of unused objects, they pulsed with the presence of the man who lived there. For the first time in decades, his children walked through the front door and didn't see storage, they saw their father. His laughter filled the rooms instead of boxes. His presence took center stage, not his possessions. What Kanso revealed was that simplicity is not subtraction, it is revelation. Each item removed uncovered more of his true self. A bare wall wasn't cold, it became a canvas where his stories were told through the warmth of his voice rather than the clutter of decor. A cleared dining table wasn't a loss, it became an invitation for meals, conversations, and togetherness. His home no longer displayed who he used to be, it supported who he was now. And in that shift, his dignity and peace returned. The key takeaway is this: Kanso is brutal not because it strips away, but because it forces honesty. It asks you to see what is truly essential and what is only shadow. When you strip away, you don't lose, you finally see yourself again, unburdened and fully present. For seniors, this is more than design. It is about ensuring that the story your home tells is not cluttered, but clear. That your children and grandchildren inherit not decades of stored boxes, but the memory of a life lived openly and authentically. If Kanso's truth resonated with you, hype this video so more seniors can find the freedom you are seeking. YouTube now gives you 3 hypes a week. Use one here to lift this message above the noise. And don't stop there. Like, share, and subscribe to Wise Aging Seniors, because the most beautiful life is not the one surrounded by objects, but the one where simplicity allows you to shine. Your home should not be a museum of things. It should be a reflection of you, and with Kanso, it can be again.